A warm welcome to the very first episode of Quarter Life Chit Chat, your new go to spot for unraveling the joys, the mess, and everything that makes our mid 20s a ride to remember. I'm Nav, your host on this journey, and together we're going to explore all facets of young adult life. They say 20s are the best years of our lives, filled with adventure, growth, and of course, a fair share of challenges. From navigating the intricacies of dating in a swipe right world, finding true love, managing our finances without consistently calling our parents for a bailout, to keeping up with the rapid pace of current events and the latest in pop culture. We have got a lot on our plate. But here's the thing, it's all about perspective, And what better way to tackle these topics than by having a casual, heart to heart conversation with our friends, maybe some experts, and some surprise guests along the way. We'll dive into the personal stories, share laughs, shed a few tears, who knows, and expect to uncover some weird, interesting stories from our transformative years. Quarter Life Chit Chat isn't just a podcast. It's kind of like an online virtual community / coffee shop. A no judgment zone where we can all come together, share our thoughts, listen to our other people's thoughts, and answer some weird and even some burning questions. And hey, speaking of an online coffee shop, I want to hear from you. Join the conversation on the social platforms, share your stories, ask us questions, what dilemmas you're facing, or just tell us interesting things that you want us to talk about on the podcast. Today, considering it's the first episode of the podcast, I thought, why don't I kick it off with sharing a little bit about myself and what got me here to creating this podcast. As a young little lad growing up in India, my mom and I decided to immigrate after she got married, and here I am. It was my life goal, and still is, to be a physician. And, it has been a tough and a draining journey at that, but a very interesting one. One day I was just chilling in my house, reflecting on how, unfortunately, after applying to med school, that I got rejected. And I was like, damn, that sucks. But I started reflecting. And I was like, it's unfortunate that I got rejected. But through it all, I gained so many more experiences. I gained so many cool and interesting things. I gained amazing volunteering experience. I created a social club at my university. I met fantastic people, and I had insane growth along the path. And through it all, the ups and downs of university, the struggling period of trying to get an A in a chemistry class, or reading a weird book that I had to read. What was it called? I think it was something by James Joyce. I had to write a paper, and sitting there writing this paper and thinking, oh man, what is the point? I just want to get into med school. Am I going to think about this? But, reflecting on it now, I enjoyed every single second of it. It's kind of like the thing, sometimes you're too close to the painting to see the whole thing and appreciate the whole painting. And I took a step away from the painting and I loved it all. But there was something missing. My whole journey to get into med school, to becoming a young adult, it was always geared toward having personal growth, overcoming challenges in school, getting out of my shell, volunteering more, creating more, connecting with more people, and genuinely just trying to make a difference in the world and trying to help people along the way. A part of me got lost, and that part of me was the creative side. Growing up, I used to love I used to love drawing. And I don't mean drawing flowers or dogs on a random sheet of paper, which I did do that, by the way. Oh, and I did win a school award for creating a painting of a flower in grade 5, but that's besides the point, humble brag. I realized that I hadn't been in touch with my creative side in a long time. I stopped drawing, I stopped painting, I stopped literally just thinking of ideas and coming up with new games that I can tell my friends the next day that we can play during recess. These ideas, the creative side, I lost it. A part of it, though, still existed in different shapes. Instead of creating art, I started writing poetry. That's something I dabbled in. Instead of coming up with cool games and ideas, I started reading philosophy and allowing my mind to grasp different perceptions of looking at a certain scenario or, trying to understand people deeper. But I wanted to create something. I wanted my artistic side to come through in a creative sense. I wanted to actually create something. And I said, and I couldn't think of anything. And it was December last year, December 2023. And I was talking to my friends and I was like, it's unfortunate I got rejected from med school, but I'm so glad that I got rejected from med school. I truly believe that one of the best things that could happen to me in my life is that I got rejected from med school. And the reason I say that, even though it sounds absolute insanity, a kid trying to go to med school who's just telling openly that he's happy he got rejected, the reason that is because I firmly believe that every time you're faced with adversity or every time you get knocked down, every time you face a failure, there's so much potential for a new success, growth, if you're just willing to take the initial step and take a step back and just acknowledge and then take the step forward, trying to get past the adversity. And that got me here. I was talking to my friends and I was telling them how it's unfortunate that I got rejected from med school. And they were just, telling me like, oh, nah, we're so sorry for you. We feel bad. I'm so sorry, and which I always appreciated. But a part of my brain, I was laughing internally because I'm like, I love it because there's a new adversity in my life. There's a new challenge in my life, dealing with getting rejected from med school. But I knew in my bones and I knew in every fiber of my being that I'm going to turn this adversity as a source for something new, something interesting, and something fun. And I decided to hop on the bandwagon that is happening in a current state of life, which is creating a podcast. That's right. Every unemployed person's main first hobby, podcast. I'm on this. I'm out here. So I decided, hey, I'll make a podcast, talk about myself because, hey, I think I'm an interesting person. But more importantly, I like connecting with people. And I thought, hey, why not? I spend, roughly 4 hours a week nonstop talking to my lovely friends that I appreciate very much. Why don't I create a podcast? Have my friends on here. We can talk about some juicy things. We can talk about some interesting things. We can talk about some cool things or just even casually have a conversation and just see who can connect with us online and, see who I can connect with and using my podcast as a medium to talk about things that I think are important to share my thoughts with the world, share my thoughts with my friends, and more importantly, understand the world's thoughts in response to my thoughts. So here I am. And I'm going to be honest, this is an interesting time. Recording a podcast, sitting in my living room, going at it. It's a vibe. I am so excited. My friend, he's a lovely person. Hopefully he hops on this podcast. I was telling him this idea and he was telling me, he's like, oh, Nav, I don't know if it's a good idea. And I was like, well, why do you think that? And he was like, what if we say something wrong? Or what if, we talk about something and we just get canceled? And I thought about that. We do live in times and we have to be respectful of everybody's opinions and thoughts and their beliefs. But I'm not afraid of that. I'll be honest. My goal is to succeed in making podcasts and creating new memories with my friends, connecting with people virtually. I think if you're going into something with the mindset of what if, I get canceled or what if we fail or what if, I think that's the wrong mindset to have. There's a million things that can go wrong. And, I'm sure a million things do go wrong. But it is with compassion that we carry ourselves. And it is with care and respect that we have within ourselves and for others when we choose to do something or choose to act a certain way and choose to be a certain way. I do not think that, unlike my friend, I'm going to get canceled. And hey, I hope that never doesn't happen. But I am absolutely certain that this will be a great place to talk with my friends, share their feelings, share their thoughts, talk about interesting topics in the most respectful manner. In a world where social media is everywhere, everybody's swiping, everybody's commenting, and it's so easy to get wrapped up in the midst of it all. It's so difficult to take a step back and think about what we did in a week or think about something that has been on our mind for a minute or just think about a perspective in general that we haven't thought about, such as seeing an issue or a concern in the world in a different light. So perhaps that might be the episode for next week, touching on a little bit of philosophy. That's something I've been dabbling in lately, and I'll be honest, as a joke. I tell my friend all the time, I am the master of philosophy, and he hates it. He fucking hates it. But guess what? That's the funniest thing. It's the reaction. It's the reaction I love. But I do believe that philosophy has deeply helped me in the past year, and it continues to help me. Philosophy has helped me understand my health anxiety. It's allowed me to understand my mind a lot more. It allowed me to get a better grasp of my mind, my thoughts, my feelings, my actions with others, my actions with myself. It allowed me to comprehend others around me and their intent and their care better. And that is something I'm going to continue dabbling in. And that is something that I'll definitely be looking into for next week's podcast. I hope you all are excited for what is to come, because I sure am. It'll be a fun ride. I'm sure it'll be a bumpy ride too, let's be real, but it'll be a fun ride. Anyways, y'all take care. I'll see you next week. Thank you for listening, and welcome to Quarter Life Chit Chat Podcast. See ya.